Yes, yes, yes. How are we doing? Happy Friday. Thank God it is Friday, as everyone says. Shouldn't really wish the week away, but there's something magical about Friday, knowing that the weekend's so close. So, we're show 361. We're going to be talking about next year. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Rise to Thrive show. I'm your host, James Boardman. And if you are coming through, then please do hit the love heart button, and please do comment and let me know whether you've done some planning, vision work for next year, and if that's something that you've been on about. So just want to very quickly talk about a method that we're evolving in terms of planning for the year. I kind of want to share it, and I want to kind of talk about the mentality of going into a new year. So for me, for me personally, having done this a long time now, and having seen language coming from people around this time, you've got to approach New Year as in it's just another month, right? And that's all it is. It's just the start of a brand new year. I think whenever we start something brand new, we all get hyped up. And I'm trying not to make this sound like I'm being a misery here, but we've got to get rid of the New Year hype. This is the element of being, brand new year, brand new me. Just jog on with that mentality, right? It's flawed. It's flawed, and it's flawed because it's hype talking, right? It's taught, and and we end up building ourselves up, and then we end up feeling really hard done by or harsh on ourselves by mid to late January, because we didn't do what we said we were going to do, and we probably internally knew that we weren't going to do what we were going to do, just because you don't have accountability, you don't have direction, there's no support, there's no guidance, life takes over, normality draws in, the Christmas era and all that happy environment has finished. And then we face real hard work, right? And people are not conditioned for hard work, okay? And too often I see guys and women falling down because they're not showing up, and it's all because it's just crap. Do you know what I mean? So I want to kind of give you some things about what we're doing in terms of our planning, some mentality tips going into it. So number one, when you're making some goals or aspirations, think about things that you want. All right. One of the ways that we've evolved for those coaching clients that I work with is we run 5 pillars. We run fun, relationship, personal development, health, and business. And what we used to do was try and find a goal for each one. And sometimes I found that people were just putting goals up for the sake of putting up goals, and people were going, trying to force a goal for that pillar. And that's the thing that we've observed this year. So instead, we changed it slightly, and I said, what are things that you want? So you go away, and what you do is brain dump every single thing that you want next year. Just in general, I want to travel, or I want more time with my kids, or I want to be better with my phone management, or I want to explode my business, or I want to explode my career. So whatever it might be, we would write all of these wants down, and you've got to find a great environment for that. So we want to go to Costa or Starbucks, or to a cafe, or somewhere that is away from screaming kids or the wife or work, and turn your phone off and just sit with a nice book and just go, right, I want to actually give this some thought and effort. And that's one of the first things that we have to try and do, right, is plan and put in some time and effort to be able to do this. Because if you don't, right, time is just going to evade you, and you're just going to end up being I just never got around to it. Just another thing that you didn't get done. So actually make some time. You don't need, just get a coffee, mate. Just sit down there with a coffee and write all these wants out, and then leave it for a couple of days and come back and highlight 5 that really stand out for you that you want to achieve. You can come back to the other ones later on in the year. And I highlight and identify these 5 wants. And you have to be able to explain why you want those things. And the why is the really important part, right? Because the why is the thing that emotionally connects us to that want. If you want something, we want to go out and get it. Does that make sense? When we just set a goal and we don't really know why we want it, or it's just put up there, it's like we don't really invest in it. Make sense? So if you want to lose 2 stone, I want to lose 2 stone, great. But then why do you want to lose 2 stone? How will it change your life? How does it affect your life? How does it affect other people around you? You know, the fact that if you lose 2 stone, you know, it's going to hopefully prolong your life and keep your organs healthy. Go into depth with all of this. Do you know what I'm saying? The why is important. And then what we do is go, right, those wants, those 5 that I've highlighted, I'm going to identify them as my first quarter goals. Like, they're the things that I want to achieve by the end of March. So we can go into April, we can revise new wants, or if it's still those things that we want, we can then continue that journey. And then break it down to what do you need to do in the first 28 days. So when it comes to January, you're like, okay, I set these 5 wants. For each one of those wants, what do I identify what you need to do for each one to make sure that those wants are achieved? Okay. So for example, like I want to build a business around my vision. Okay, I've been building a business. I've always wanted to travel. I've always wanted to work with business owners as well. So what did I do last night? I finally launched a program that I desperately wanted to launch for ages, okay, which is my business mastermind. And part of that business mastermind is taking men around the world to be able to do workshops and have experiences and do those things. And that's something that I always visualized. So in January, I'll be launching my business mastermind. In February, I'll be starting that business mastermind and building up and planning for our first trip. In March, we'll be then looking at the next installment. And it's like, man, I know what I need to achieve in January based on my wants. I know what I need to achieve in February, but I don't worry about February or March. I just purely focus on those 28 days. So in those 28 days, I will have 5 growth, if you like, elements, and they're based on the things that I want. Okay, and then I'm living my everyday normal life. You like, I want to still make sure I'm doing my morning routines. I'm going to still make sure I'm doing like my 30 to 50 miles running. I'm still making sure I do my jiu-jitsu. I'm still making sure I switch off at half 3 or whatever time. So there's maintenance, and then there's growth. So maintenance is everyday living, making sure I'm doing everything that I said I was, and then there's growth. And the growth are the things that I want that elevate my life, that help me build a lifestyle that I want, right? Not being a slave to the system, so to speak. So we have to have those aspirations. And then when it comes to New Year, and when I see people like going, oh my God, I'm about to go for a run, or I'm about to join the gym, or like, listen, 10 out of 10 for optimism. But unless there is substance behind it, unless there is depth in terms of planning, your vision, your goals, unless you have accountability, unless you're going to be able to put yourself through some resilience and not have a snowflake mentality and break at the first hurdle just because you feel stressed at work, man, you've got to make sure you take these things into consideration, because it is an emotional stance. This is a really happy time of year for the majority of people. Okay, I know some people are not into Christmas. I know some people have stress around Christmas, whatever. Overall, it's a happy period of time. And then we go into New Year, and it's like, oh my God, it's such a great life. And then we go into the first week, and then you go back to work, and then it's like, pow, smack in your face from work, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, pressure, stress. Christmas seems like it was a year ago. We go through all those same things, all the BS quotes that we say, God, Christmas seems like it was only yesterday, or some miles away now. I'm back to reality. Like all the drivel that we talk about and all the excuses that we make. So we have to mentally and emotionally be robust and resilient if you are going to show up in the new year. If you want my one tip for 2023 is become harder than life is hard. You know, life is hard. Morning.
Morning.
Life is hard, but you've got to be harder. So you've got to be harder than life. Okay? You've got to be tougher than life, because life is tough. You've got to find a way to always be ahead of life. So where tough and hard is moving here, you just almost have to be ahead of it all the time, and it's chasing you. The minute that it overtakes you, hard becomes, when life becomes hard or life becomes tough, and it overwhelms you and you start falling behind, that's when we start with the pity. That's when we start with the victim mentality. That's when we become a snowflake. And that's when we start complaining and being negative, and that's when we start piling on the weight and start drinking again and start making excuses, start being like a moody la around the family, and everyone's treading on eggshells around you. So you've got if there's one focus, if there's one thing for this year, it's be tougher, it's be harder than life actually is. And you've got to build yourself up. Listen, there's no easy route out there. I think everyone's looking for some magic tablet or something to make them stronger. The only way you're going to make yourself stronger is by putting yourself out your comfort zone. Growth is only ever achieved out your comfort zone. If you remain in your comfort zone, you will never grow. You will stay the same until the day that you die. And you'll probably look back in your nursing home and regret the fact that you never stood out of that comfort zone, right? You've got to stop with the BS, lads, because otherwise you're setting yourself up to fail, right? And you've got to be resilient. You've got to be tough. And if you get offended by the stuff that I say, then there's a good start to try and sort yourself out and be tougher and accept that actually what I'm telling you is the truth, and it's just stuff that people don't actually want to tell you, right? You've got to stop your whining mentality, and you've got to start showing up and start finding a way and start putting yourself through the paces. Otherwise, all your wants, all your aspirations will be buried with you when you die, and you would have never reached that legacy that you wanted to for your kids and your wife and you. That's it. Happy Friday.